The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Center to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, here are a few ways that you can do it. Download the Living Zen podcast app for iPod, iPhone, or Android. You can also purchase additional Zen Talks by Venerable Eshu on iTunes or Amazon.com. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by joining our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online eZendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at www.zenwest.ca and click on the membership tab. Thank you for your support. As we were warming up for the chanting, we do these exercises, humming and just vocalizing ah before we chant. And it put me in mind just a reminder about what it is or how we go about engaging in practice. All of us, I think, as we develop as human beings, we become more and more complex. As we go through our lives, we tend to ritualize. We ritualize where and how we sleep, how we dress, how we eat, how we work, how we drive. I'm always reminded of this when you're driving somewhere different, except you're on a usual road and you kind of make that turn, even though that's not where you're going, you just kind of follow the pattern. And it reminds me that much of the time we are not actually actively engaged in the living of our lives. The body is kind of in this state of action, and the pilot, who we think we are, is kind of passively directing things, but is much more interested in other things. Zen practice is a mirror. This kind of formal practice is a mirror. A big part of our practice is to unify these three functions of our lives: body, speech, and mind. So when we come to practice, this activity that we're engaged in from the moment that we enter the room is a practice of commitment. Not commitment to a God, not commitment to some person or group of people outside of ourselves. It's a commitment to the unfolding activity that is our life. This activity that is unfolding in front of us in each and every moment of our lives. There's nowhere else for you to be. There's nothing else. There's nothing better for you to be doing than what you're doing in this moment. And I'm not just talking about this moment right here. I'm not just saying that the best thing that you can do in all of your life is sitting. But the most meaningful commitment that you can make in your life is the commitment to be here now. To be in your life now. To be doing what you're doing while you're doing it. This practice that we engage in here, this seated meditation, allows us to witness, to physically experience this coming home, drifting away, becoming aware that we're not here, that we haven't been present, that we've been distracted. And it gives us the opportunity to kind of exercise that coming home muscle, to exercise this practice of letting go of all of our distractions, physical, mental, emotional, letting go of our distractions and coming back to what's taking place right here. So, we have all of these different activities. They're a little bit unusual for most of us. We don't sort of sit up straight for an extended period of time in our usual everyday lives. Most of us don't chant or use our voices in that kind of a way in most of our lives. Most of us don't bow or walk in step, maybe if we're in the military or something, for most of our lives. And so all of these activities are a little bit unusual. They demand us to be present. They require our attention, particularly in this kind of disciplined format, or our lapses, our distractions become visible to ourselves and to everybody in the room, particularly the sort of guardians of the Dharma here, the head of the hall, the Jikijitsu, and the teacher, the abbot. And there can be corrections. Sit still, keep in step. We're awfully nice here on Tuesday night, so we don't get a lot of corrections. We just want people to have a positive experience. But as we develop in practice, what is asked of us by our teacher, by the form, by this practice, is that we manifest wholeheartedly in our lives. It's difficult, more difficult than we give ourselves credit. Even as I'm giving this talk, already we're thinking about what kind of hamburger we're going to have later. What's going to happen in next Sunday's Game of Thrones? But this form, this teaching, Rinzai Zen, is structured in such a way that it is constantly demanding our attention. A bell here, a bow there, a shout here. Wake up! We can't allow ourselves to be gone for even a moment, or we fall over. And what happens when we fall over? Well, it's okay. That's what we are here to do. There is no judgment. We all fall over. This activity of being awake is difficult. We find the support of our fellow practitioners who are also engaged in this difficult endeavor of being awake in our lives. Because we recognize the value of being in the company of other human beings who are making the effort to wake up. So this practice, our own practice, can be a commitment to living our lives awake. But beyond that, Zen practice, all Mahayana practices, the great vehicle, are based on the realization that we awaken together, that we support one another, that we polish one another through this kind of practice together, asleep and awake, supporting one another as we go forward. In the end, this practice is aimed at transformation, awakening, not just for ourselves, but for all beings. This place of practice is a place where we can wake up together. Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.